Sherpa.
Sherpa.
Good.
Sherpa's here.
Welcome to the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission meeting for October the 11th, 2021, 4:30 p.m. in council chambers. We'll read this important information for you. As a recipient of federal funds and in support of Lawrenceburg's efforts to ensure non-discrimination and equal access to all citizens, the city gathers statistical data regarding participants in city activities. Therefore, we have provided a voluntary Title VI public involvement survey at this meeting. You're not required to complete this survey. However, the form is anonymous and will be used solely for the purpose of monitoring our compliance with Title VI and ADA. That form is located in the back of the room in that file folder there. We'll go ahead and have a roll call. Executive Director Brian Messmore.
Here.
President Richard Richardson is present. Vice President Lenny Fryman.
Here.
Secretary Kevin Schaefer.
Here.
Member Janie Wilson.
Here.
Member Brian Johnson is absent. Lawrenceburg School Board Member Brian Jansen is absent. City Attorney Del Weldon.
Here.
All right, thanks everybody for coming tonight. If we've got a chance to read our minutes from the previous meetings, I'll take a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Lenny. Do we have a second?
Discussion, is there a reason to correct anything?
I would just handle this under old business because
Okay.
I'm not quite sure if the minutes are wrong or if we just need to clarify our vote. So
Fair
I
enough.
would do both.
Okay.
Just to be safe. So if you could remember under old business, I'm gonna revisit this demo bid from the last time.
Should we move forward with approving the minutes as
Yes,
they
you
are?
can approve them.
Do we have
Approve them.
a second for approving those minutes?
So moved.
We have a second by Kevin. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And Mr. Messmore, do we have any announcements this evening?
Yeah, I think this is I'll do it under announcements. We have been notified by, let me get back to the right page here, GLP Capital, which is the part of Hollywood that handles the properties and things like that. On 420 St. Clair, there's a home. It's been vacant for a number of years. It's right at the back corner of the garage. The Hollywood has offered that property to the city of Lawrenceburg. The city would assume the cost of only demolition and restoration to the property. We would have to perform the asbestos study before making any commitments to proceed with any further action. So what I'd be asking for this evening would be for permission to gain a right of entry and do the environmental inspection prior to any acceptance of any further any way whatsoever. After review, it appears that on that property we could have a residential lot available and access the alley to the rear of that property as well. So we don't have to decide that, but it appears there's enough room to both provide alley access and have a residential lot for development. So again, what I would just be asking for is a motion to do asbestos survey.
And this, just for reference, is the property that sits almost directly across from Eddie Canoe Alley, right at the back of the Hollywood Casino parking garage location. Do we have a motion to move forward with the environmental study?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Are there any additional announcements?
No.
Mr. Messmore, do we have a financial report this evening?
Let's see if I can do this as eloquent as Kelly Brookbank can.
I don't think you can. She's pretty good.
I hear you. Fund balance is $1,784,111.95. And after projects committed to previously, that is a balance of $1,589,364.85.
Beautiful. Do we have any additional questions? If not, we'll move on to new business. Mr. Messmore, Director Messmore, we have appraisals for residential lots. We have
Yeah.
8 West Eads Parkway, contingent purchase appraisals, environmentals, and appropriation.
Yeah, so let's, for the residential lots, we have a number of lots available, or that it could be available for residential development. And my intentions this evening were to proceed with appraisal for those lots. Those would be 531, 533, 547, and 556 West High, 236 East High, and what is now known as 342 44 Short, which would only have one address at some point in time. But in some discussion, Adele, would you like to reference the statute that we've are looking at? Essentially, bottom line is we can accomplish the same thing without doing the appraisals, the average of 2 appraisals.
Yeah, so thank you, Director Messmore. We looked at a couple issues for agenda items today. We're looking at the potential purchase of property, also the potential sale of property, and how that can be accomplished. Obviously, we've got some really good lots that we've accumulated over the years, where through kind of our, call it phase 1 if you want, our redevelopment focus downtown, where we buy lots, we demo houses that need to be demoed, we remediate the lot, we get it ready for someone to build a new home, and then in conjunction with redevelopment, Main Street kind of jointly offers 10% of that, the cost of building a new home. And so really everyone working together cohesively to generate new homes and new residents to downtown, which is exactly what we should be doing as a redevelopment commission. But with these lots that we have now, and through all your hard work, now that we're 6 years into this thing, we're nowhere near where we used to be. When we used to kind of buy lots and demo houses and offer them for sale, we'd get them appraised and we'd put them in the newspaper, but everyone knew, don't bid on them, because in 30 days you can buy them for $1, right? And then people would build a house, and our maximum was, I think, $150,000 maybe for the 10%. So everyone would build $149,000 houses, and that was good back then. I mean, that was just getting anyone to build a new house in Lawrenceburg 10 years ago was a feat, and that was appropriate. So we're really ready to kind of progress to the next phase of what we can accomplish, because I think we can accomplish really great things. And so statutes really break it down 2 ways. How do you sell property? Well, you either get it appraised, average 2 appraisals, you just put it in the newspaper, anybody who wants it can have it. Well, that's not really what we're trying to accomplish. We're not trying to buy these lots, pay the money to purchase them, pay the money to demo them, remediate them, just to sell them to anybody. We want to, if we're going to get involved and use redevelopment resources to be involved, then we want to control what goes on the property. And in fact, we can make that easier, where with appraisals, especially in this market, especially with, again, how much you guys have improved downtown with Flaherty and Collins and the park and the restaurants and the stores, these lots, someone could tell you, are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, or, have very high value. Appraisals are speculative and may not really strike the true value. But with an RFP, like a request for proposal situation, and what I think the statutes support, and what I think your vision supports, and what I would recommend is that instead of just getting these appraised for a random value, put them in the newspaper, whoever wants them, come get them. If you do a request for proposals, then someone can come to us and say, hey guys, I want to build this home here. I think this 2-story Victorian style home would look really great along the waterfront, and I want to build that here, and I want to build that on one of your lots. Well, First of all, I think we need to establish minimum building guidelines, consistent with the overall plan. Again, you guys are working from a plan. I know a lot of times we're drilling down to one lot or one part of town, but really, we need a cohesive plan. We have one for all of our redevelopment district, which again, our redevelopment district isn't Ludlow Hill or Route 50. It's the part of downtown that needs redevelopment. That's the state statute, that's state law, that's why redevelopment even exists, because you find the part of your town that needs the most help and you dive into that. And so looking at everyone's progress over the last 6 years and over the last 10 years and over the last 30 years, I think it's very appropriate for you guys to say, well, we demand a higher level of residential development in this downtown area. If we have invested in buying the property, demoing the property, and we're gonna make it available, then we'll have minimum standards and we'll approve the final design. We get calls about properties that go up downtown or they get painted a certain color, and a lot of times our answer is, well, we're not involved in that, so we don't get to tell people what color to paint their blinds or their facade. But with these lots, we do. We have a very favorable inventory. It looks like we're going to add to that with a donation from Hollywood, which is terrific. So set minimum standards, invite requests for proposals. And I talked to Brian today, you almost have a revolving, kind of ongoing, persistent set of proposals. Anyone at any time can come in and propose a house on one of these lots and have it kind of open. And then if they do it tomorrow, we'll put them on for the November meeting and we'll explore it. And if it meets our minimum criteria and is subjectively pleasing to the board, then you can say, good, we green light this project. And with the RFP structure statutorily, because it's different than the traditional just appraise and offer for generic sale, then we can set a cost of repayment that's really more tailored to the facts and to Lawrenceburg and what we're trying to accomplish. So instead of selling it for what two appraisers might say it's worth, let's sell it for what it cost us to buy and demo that lot, because then we can take that money and we can invest in the next one. Then we have a real number that they're paying us back. We put that right back in the kitty for the next one. We have real standards. You guys get the house that you want, which is the house the community wants. You're standing up here for the community, and all the boxes are checked. And the statutes really speak to that. When Indianapolis passes legislation, it's generic. It doesn't always fit, and you're kind of looking for a way to put a square peg into a round hole. But I think with this paradigm in the sale of property for redevelopment, when you're picking between just average two appraisals, sell it to anyone, or an RFP, which is really just a joint venture between you guys and the builder, it's clear that latter scenario is what accomplishes your goals. And so I think the only work is to kind of set minimum standards, approve those as they come up, and determine what that average recoupment amount would be, because that's what you would charge for the lots, and you're permitted to do that.
How long would it take us to create minimum standards?
Not as long as it would take to get all these lots appraised, so that's the good
Sure.
thing.
Yeah.
So I would
Cheaper.
say, I would say that of course, this isn't a new discussion. And we've talked about this. Even if we would have had them appraised, we would have went through the discussion of what are the minimum development criteria standards that we've talked about before. We've just never really had to put the pen to the paper and finalize those, because we haven't got to the point where it was meaningful. And it appears that time is approaching. I would suggest that we could have a fairly decent discussion about the majority of that criteria probably in the next meeting. I've got lot sizes, square footages, it's basically materials and dollar values if we think those are appropriate.
Is that
Numbers
passed-
of stores.
Is that passed via resolution by the redevelopment commission? Is that how that would work?
We would set those minimum standards in the request for proposals, and then that would be incorporated into a development agreement, a two-way agreement where we get the precise residence that we want, they get the lot for whatever value we determine is fair. It's a two-way binding agreement.
So what I would bring to you, for example, is these lots, everything we've got in them, and then we would just wrestle with, the market and, what are people most likely, what's a threshold for that, whether it's the total, total the purchase and MO or some percentage of one and all of the other. I don't know, but I can see that sort of discussion, not finalizing, but I think we could get pretty far in a meeting and or / work session, whatever you want to call it.
And it's also an opportunity, I think, to take a look at what are our Main Street programs now versus what can they be January 1st, 2022. I think this is an opportunity to take the next step and have these programs and these incentives and these efforts be more tailored to what is Lawrenceburg right now. Because Lawrenceburg right now is completely different than Lawrenceburg was 6 years, downtown Lawrenceburg, your redevelopment area. So if we're talking about taking an area in need of redevelopment, an area that's inherently has dilapidated areas and areas in need of acute attention. I know it doesn't seem like that now because we can all go to Music on the River and go to the park, but think about 10 years ago and think about where we are now, and this is not the end. Where do we want to be 10 years from now? And if we can't do the same things we did the last 10 years for the next 10 years and have these same kind of results, we have to adjust our expectations. We have to have, quite frankly, higher standards and have whatever money we invest go directly towards accomplishing those higher standards.
So I'm comfortable with the fact that we can accomplish our objectives with this approach. There's no question in my mind. So, to that extent, I would like to proceed.
I like what Dell had said about it gives us a more realistic value on the property to bring us some, financial stability back to the redevelopment commission. So I do like that. I would be in favor of it. Does anybody else have comments or questions?
Sounds good.
Are you
This is-
needing
this-
a motion to
I
move
mean,
forward, or is it?
I would like, because there's been some discussion on about which lots we're really willing to move forward. I would like a motion to move forward on all existing residential lots.
So you need a motion to move forward with RFPs for all existing residential lots.
That's correct.
Do we have a motion right now from someone?
Now, may I comment?
Yes, sir.
Or discussion? Knowing that we will have, that's to prepare them and bring them into this group for discussion about the final configuration of those and what that actually looks like. You will have the final authority over what those specifications are on those lots, specific to those lot dimensions.
This just allows you to move forward with
Yeah.
creating that for us.
You just want to set it up, but then, before it's actually done, you'll come back and we'll decide if that's what we want to let the property go
Exactly.
for and
Yep.
all that. So,
And
yeah,
basically-
I'm good with that.
Basically, first, you guys as a group, whether it's subcommittees, back to the big committee
Yeah.
back to the big board would be, here's our minimum guidelines. And then, once we're done with that, we roll them out and we let everyone know, hey, you can come pick up an RFP and you can pitch us a house, and here's the minimum guidelines. Then you still have to approve the final design. You could say, well, yeah, that meets the minimum guidelines, but that's not really what we want. And then the next one, oh, this is exactly what we want. So there's multiple steps to get to that final result, but hopefully done quickly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Would you like to make the motion?
So you want me to, I'll make the motion that,
Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll
Second.
Second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And next we have Bussey Woodworking.
No, we haven't
Sorry.
finished.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
This is
My
on,
apologies.
well, let's drop back for just 1 second so everybody's clear. We had discussed earlier about using a realtor to to put those lots in a realtor's hand again, and the goal is to increase the the revenue possibilities on those lots. But I will let Dell briefly explain what we ran into.
Sorry.
You already said, Doc. That seems to imply I'm not brief.
What we found out about the disposition of property in relationship to a realtor.
Yeah, and so that goes hand in hand. So there are two sets of statutes for buying and selling property. The statutes that control purchasing property do contemplate involving a realtor and paying nominal fees for commissions, listings, things like that. But the statutes that control selling property don't. And that's your short answer.
Yeah.
But I believe that the reason for that, it kind of makes sense, because when we visited towns like Fishers or Carmel, or towns that really are just kicking butt in the arena of redevelopment, it does make sense for those communities to hire a realtor to buy property so that the prices don't get inflated, right? You kind of want to buy it quietly. We kind of make a mistake and we're like, hey, we want to buy some property, and it's like the $1 million house when they were trying to build the casino. But when you sell property, it's a much different process. You're, again, either an RFP in this process that we've all agreed to go down, or you're just appraising it and put it in the newspaper, and whoever wants to buy it can buy it. So that statute lists out that process, but doesn't speak to paying fees for a realtor or paying fees for a listing, because it's much different, I think, and it's intentional. Because the buying property statute says, here's how you pay for your realtor, and the selling statute doesn't say anything, because it's supposed to be just put it on your website and let whoever wants to buy it, or do the RFP process. But that's your answer, but I believe that is intentional, and that's why.
Pretty concise.
Yeah, wasn't bad, was it?
Sorry.
So that leads us to the next item on the agenda. I would be looking for, how would I phrase this? I would be looking for, first of all, this is 8 West East Parkway, or A1 Auto Body. We've talked about this. In fact, we actually made a purchase, or made an offer back in 2016. It's been long time referred to as a gateway opportunity for downtown. Obviously, it's the corner of Walnut, and we've expressed a lot of interest in this board and the previous board, and we're unsuccessful in reaching agreement. But I am asking tonight to be able to go in again and negotiate a potential purchase contract with them. Dale, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, so there's a subset of the purchasing statute for redevelopment that talks specifically about what they call distressed properties. But if a property's been identified as distressed in any way, and this property qualifies because it does have environmental challenges that would need to be overcome, so in order to purchase, obviously it's body shops, so oil and things like that. So that allows Mr. Messmore, with your blessing, to negotiate a sale price, just the best sale price he can get, and then it has to come back before us, and it has to come back before city council. And if both boards approve such a purchase, then it can happen because of the special characteristics of this property, but only if both boards approve that. And council's, the legislative body, is only giving a blessing. They're not contributing funds, but it does have to pass through both those boards to be able to be an exception based on the characteristics of the property. So you would be voting just to enable Mr. Messmore to meet with the property owners, negotiate the best sale price possible, and then bring it back.
I didn't know we had to okay that. I thought you could just do that.
No, we can't do anything. You gotta vote.
Boy, I'm learning every day.
So we need a motion to allow Director Messmore to negotiate for the A1 Auto Body property. What's the address on that?
I have 8 West Eads Parkway.
To negotiate for West Eads Parkway
Yeah.
in Lawrenceburg, Indiana?
Yes.
And then bring that number back to the board?
Right, and obviously, that number, if we were to approve it, would be conditioned on environmental subject to environmental review.
Do we have a motion?
Brian, do you remember what we offered
Yes.
5 years ago?
$285,500.
And that was 5 years ago?
Yeah, that was 2016, July 2016. It's a long time ago.
Was that an offer, or was that a price that they told us they'd sell it for?
That was the average 2 appraisals.
So we're operating under the assumption that they've rejected that, and that was our top number under just a generic traditional approach. So we're gonna try this other approach and see what happens.
Brian, can you speak briefly to, if we are successful in purchasing the property, what the plan is?
Well, some sort of adaptive use to improve the experience when you're traveling on 50 and connecting to Walnut. There have been many discussions about how to do that.
Likely demolition?
I would think demo would be a part of it, but I think that even demolition, we could probably discuss what are the pros and cons and what would be the I'm not going to throw Main Street under the bus, but what would Main Street look like out there on 50? There may be a use for that we haven't considered in our baseline discussions that we've had in the past. So I think this is the assumption that could be that. It could be demoed and raise gardens and, some signs and benches. And, again, the goal is to draw people attention who wouldn't typically come to the historic downtown, to get them off of 50 and get the traffic up down here to support the merchants.
Okay.
Like a wayfinding opportunity?
Yeah.
So primarily beautification of that
Yes.
corner.
Can Maisie walk that far?
Are there any additional questions? Do we have a motion to allow Mr. Messmore to negotiate for 8 West Eads Parkway and bring that number back to the board?
So move.
Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're ready for busing now?
This is the fun part. Yes.
Been waiting for
We've
this.
been waiting.
I've been walking by the old Jackson Hardware store. I was without a car for about a month, so I had to walk everywhere through town, and I had to go by it several times. The floor in there looks amazing. So that's a credit to you and what you do, I'm sure. So it did. It looks great, though. Really excited about it.
Yeah, so, we're here to make some introductions. We're going to do business plan review, and I do need action tonight, and my specific request is the approval for the $25,000 preferred business grant.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Brian.
You're
You're gonna have to speak up.
pardon me?
I didn't hear you. You gotta speak.
You really didn't hear me?
I swear, no, if I did, I wouldn't have said nothing.
Well, you have been known to joke around a little bit.
I was
So
trying-
my specific request for action this evening is a vote for the $25,000 preferred business grant.
Okay, thank you.
You're going to enjoy the presentation.
Okay, well, I'm going to introduce the buses in a moment. And the reason is because I have 3 things that I'd like to bring, just to say before the board. Again, if you don't know me, I'm Ginny Fowler. I work for the Indiana Small Business Development Center, and I have been working with buses, as I've been working with a lot of people downtown in the last year and a half. Excuse me. And first, I wanted to say thank you for continuing to support me and the Indiana Small Business Development Center downtown, in downtown Lawrenceburg. I hope you will please consider continuing to support me But I wanted to say thank you because, second, it has been a really great experience, especially in the last year and a half. We have done some things that Brian and Michelle both know. First, we did some things with structuring the incentive programs through Main Street. I think that has helped. You're going to see a little bit about that today. That's kind of why I think that I'm presenting this. But and then we also structured more of what we call the Sherpa team, right? We guide people down. That's Brian, that's Michelle, and myself. And we have started working together really closely on helping businesses get planted downtown Lawrenceburg. And I think that it's been really successful. And since the beginning of 2020, we've planted, or at least went through me, 12 businesses in Lawrenceburg. I'm currently working on 5 more, 3 of which are in the final stages. 2 are in the beginning stages. So if you add all that up, right, that's 17 businesses in the last year and a half. And I think that pats on the back for all of you are in order. I think that that's amazing to me, considering that, remember, we went through COVID, through all of that. I work in 6 counties in southeast Indiana, and that's the most that I've been doing. A lot of that also has to do with the incentive programs that you have put in place. Now, some of those started earlier. We have streamlined those processes and made them more structured. It's more objective, and that makes me not only feel really good about it, and it makes my job a lot easier when people come in. There's not subjective things. We have very objective things to talk about, right? It's not, do I think they like me, right? It's more, here, you need to put these things in place. It's more like a request for proposal, right? Which is what makes this a lot stronger incentive program. It's been great working with everybody also. This new grant this year, I forget what you called it, but strategic business.
Preferred business.
What's that?
It's preferred business.
Preferred business, okay. So the preferred business grant is a new thing that you guys kind of put into the mix, and we've been working on. And so I haven't been up here on the other ones, but I think Brian asked me to come up today just because the way we structured the ones through Main Street. So I'm going to do that today, and you have a presentation in front of you. This is what we do for the $7,500 Small Business Action Grant through the Main Street program, and we did do that with the Plessy Woodworking. So that's my preamble. Most of it, just summarized, thank you very much. This, I think, is going really well. So thank you. All right, before we get started, I want to introduce both Jordan and Cassie Bussey. They're going to talk a little bit about themselves and their background before we get started on the meat of the business plan.
Nice to meet you all. My name is
Can we
Jordan.
get you to come over to
You
the
can move it to the
microphone if you
podium.
don't mind?
My name is Jordan. This is Cassie. I've been building furniture for about 6 years now. We recently got married about 2 years ago, and we both worked full-time jobs at the beginning of this year. She was a school teacher, and I was a ICU nurse, and we ended up buying this property across the street here, and both quit our jobs and kind of went all in, hoping to start up this business. We've completely renovated the front and the back half of the old Jackson Hardware. You can see the hardwood floor, but you can't see all the back half, which was kind of a mess. But it's pretty much complete now. Besides the HVAC is not working, and we also want to improve the outside of it. So that's why we're here today. Did you guys have any questions for me? Or?
Not yet, I don't
All right.
think.
A little long. Okay, now we're going to get into the meat of the business plan. As you can tell, these are super millennials, right? We want this kind of cool millennialism downtown for not only for walkability, but just to say that cool millennialism. Okay, So if you want to turn the page, we are talking about Jordan Bussey Woodworking. The objective today is to go after or apply for the $25,000, which is in the preferred business grant. The Bussies have already applied for the Small Business Action Grant, and they were granted that. That's a $7,500 matching, 50-50 matching grant through Main Street that you support. And eventually they will be applying for the signage grants that are more 75-25 matching through Main Street as well. What is Jordan Bussey Woodworking? It is a high-end custom wood furniture shop. Jordan makes fantastic creations out of wood. He's been doing it for a while. Grew up on a farm here in the area and knows a lot about woodworking. And he's also going to highlight his wife's pottery making as well, which is something that makes this a preferred business, right? This is a high-end custom furniture, getting people walking down, looking at all of this cool wood furniture, right? As well as some of the pottery that's going to be, that's something that people want to see in a downtown, right? It's the kind of retail business that would make it preferred. Jordan talked a little bit about his background. The business will be structured legally as an LLC, limited liability company, established in the state of Indiana, with Jordan and Cassie as the sole members. So let's turn the page and talk about the market, all right? Who are their target customers? This is one of the things that I work with people on a lot, and I ask them to pick their top 3 target customer segments. All right, the first one is what we call local millennials, right? These are people, customers who are looking for a shopping experience, like we talked about with, being able to look at the furniture and the pottery. They support and like to shop local for not only for sustainability, but for that craftsmanship element, and they're looking for timeless purchases. The second group of target customers is the upscale living group. These would be that higher socioeconomic earners that we talked about, and you guys have been talking about a little bit with the housing. They want one-of-a-kind items, very unique, and they also want they can control the outcome. And then the last group kind of takes a diversion, because we're going to talk about what the Bussies are doing in the back of the building, and that is other woodworkers. They're going to have a kiln back there for small run batches of specialty wood like walnuts, some burled woods. Those are for people who are looking for unique wood. They are people who are doing this same kind of thing in other places. They want convenience, and they're looking for something local. So those are the 3 target customer groups. If we look at the market, excuse me. If we look at the market, 28.4% of the households in a 20-mile radius of Lawrenceburg earn over $100,000 a year. That makes 103,292 households in our target group, okay? If these households would spend $500 on furniture annually, which today they're spending a little more than that, the market size would be $51.7 million. That's just in a 20-mile radius. Leakage comes from a report that I pull, market research report, which means people who are buying this furniture, but they're going outside the 20-mile radius to buy it, $73.8 million in furniture sales being leaked annually outside of the 20-mile radius. So there are a lot of people in that market to be able to tap into. What is their value proposition? That's the second important thing that I talk with people foundationally about in their businesses is what is it, that thing that makes you different than everyone else? Excuse me. That is the high-end, one-of-a-kind wood items. They display craftsmanship and timelessness, right? They're things that you hand down. Also, they're uniquely sourced, and we've got the kiln-dried small batch wood on site. Now, the Bussies also have a farm where they have some of those trees themselves that they would like to sell through that. Okay, any questions so far? That's kind of the market. All right, competitors. I asked my clients to look at their top 3 competitors, and then I usually put together a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The first is Iron Timbers. Iron Timbers is out in Osgood. There's a picture of that on the next page. Kind of what their value proposition is. They put metal and wood together. They do a lot of commercial things too. Their strengths are they've been together for a couple generations, so they have a large outreach. They also have appeared on national television. They only do custom pieces. They don't have any retail space. Of course, they're out in Osgood, so that would be limited anyway. Their opportunities are to sell against them is to focus on something that's not just wood and metal, right? Threats are they have good customer relationships and they're a long-standing business. The second competitor is Big Indian Woodworking. That's over in Aurora, downtown Aurora. They do woodworking over there. Their strengths, they have good local support. Weaknesses, they're not really super easy to find and not really well marked. I walked past it this weekend, but not easy to find. They also focus on whiskey barrel products only. So that's a focus for them, but really kind of a weakness when you compare the different qualities of furniture. Opportunities that Jordan Bussey Woodworking would be able to sell against them, that they could supply lumber for the different products they're making. Threats, for people who want to buy local, there are a lot of people who like Big Indian Woodworking. The third competitor is Lowe's. So we know a lot about Lowe's, right? But that's from a wood material standpoint, not really a furniture making standpoint. They have supply chain, although that might be threatened recently.
Yep.
But they're a household name. They have buying power, right? And they're convenient. They don't sell a lot of hard to find woods there either. So it's very limited what they're selling. All right, those are the competitors. I think Jordan and Cassie definitely have a different value proposition than those competitors. In Osgood, Iron Timbers does a really nice job with their furniture, but again, they have a focus there, and a lot of it is on commercial. Okay, now we're going to move on to the products. You're going to get a really good idea of what Jordan does, and you're going to get an idea of where the selling prices are. I tried to put some pictures there of things that Jordan has done. You can see the Epoxy River one, that's really cool. And then a lot of furniture for, tables, dining tables, and items like that. He also does other large items, furniture for bedrooms with drawers, bed frames, that kind of thing. And he does some small wooden pieces. Okay, so those would be, give us an example. Like what is small? Cutting boards, yes. I don't know if you saw those in Funny Farm. When Funny Farm first opened, there were those cutting boards. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, Jordan made those.
They're pretty neat.
Yes, so you can see a small table, with a retail price of $350, material cost of $70 is going to have an 80% gross margin. So these are profitable items compared to your normal retail, right? Normal retail is at 30, excuse me. Percent gross margin. So dining tables, right? They're going to retail around $1,400. Your dressing tables or your dressers, they're going to be in that $3,500 range. So we can get up into some really higher prices. This is a higher end item, and yet, for a small table, still we're down at $350. If we're talking about the small items, they're in the $140 range. And then when we're talking about dried lumber, which is a departure from the furniture, right, which is the pre-material stage, those retail, that kiln drying retails at $9 board foot. All right, so you can see that the gross margin rates run between 95 and 80 and 95%. That is in really good shape for any business. All right, gross margin is just your top end retail price minus your material cost. All right, location, 201 Walnut Street. So it's the old Jackson Hardware building. They're all in. They already bought it. They already started working on it. They already quit their jobs. And if you go up and do what all the other nosy people do, right? And you look in the window, which is what I did, and you see the flooring in there, Jordan laid that flooring, which I thought was a feat, considering I've laid some floors in my life, and these pieces were really small. They were very thin. So that took some perseverance. Labor requirements. Initially, when they start, it's going to be Jordan and Cassie themselves. Jordan is the wood shop manager. Cassie's going to be running the showroom as well as doing furniture sales, doing quotes, that kind of thing, as well as building the pottery pieces, which go nicely with furniture, right? Something that, too, might be a more spontaneous purchase if someone was just shopping downtown, and it gets them in the door to look around at things and spend some time. Jordan's going to be managing the wood shop, building those commissioned pieces, and he's going to be managing the kiln. Any questions on that? All right. Marketing plan. We got to always get to the marketing plan. How will we get people in the door, right? So first, let's back up and talk about the industry. All right? I always run industry information about, okay, is this an industry that is growing? Is it a flat, mature industry, or is it shrinking? We already know that from a market potential within a 20-mile radius, there's a lot of money being spent on furniture. You can imagine, a lot of the Hidden Valley homes over there are spending a lot of money on furniture, right? And every year they are. But what's the industry doing? Well, the millennial consumer group, excuse me, sorry, I'm a frog, has grown, excuse me, to almost half of the retail furniture purchases in the United States. So that group of people is driving furniture, which is what we want to have downtown, right? The housing market, you know what the housing market is doing, right? The growth in the furniture market is expected to increase over even over what was done in the last 5 years. Demand for furniture is expected to rise by almost 3% over the next 5 years. Okay, so how are they going to market their business? Well, one big way is location, 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 right? They plan on fixing up the Jackson Hardware building, what they've already started to do, making it into a showroom so they can capitalize on what's going on in downtown Lawrenceburg. They already have a customer group that they work with, people coming to them all the time asking for commissioned pieces. They're going to utilize the Main Street marketing package for part of their opening, which includes the billboard program and taking advantage of local events. They have a website that they're working on, and because this is a very visual product, to drive people to the website and then for them to make it a destinational purchase, meaning the people will come to the place, they're going to use social media as their main driver. So building their social media will be important. They're already driving social media with pictures and visuals of the finished product. All right, any questions? Now we're going to get into the financials. Fixed asset purchases, that's anything hard that, that you can handle, is approximately $317,000 total. The building was $275,000. The leasehold improvements at the time were expected at $29,000. A small amount of equipment at $8,200. Some other small fixed assets. Operating purchases were right around $6,000. That's pretty standard. All right, so now let's get to down payment. How much are they in on this property? Well, they're already in almost $306,000. So they bought the building. They're in for the fix-up of what's going on. Now they're looking for help with the $25,000 to help them with more of the fix-ups. The estimated grants, we talked about this before, estimated they will be asking for, they already requested the Small Business Action Grant, which was $7,500, which is matching. They will be looking for a signage and awning grant of about $1,300, the commercial facade grant of $5,000, the blade sign grant at about $3,000, and then the preferred business grant at $25,000. So this is what they're requesting as the partnership between them and the citizens of Lawrenceburg through the redevelopment group. All right, so do we think that they're going to be successful? This is how I run financials. And so for those of you who are Main Street and listen to me all the time, forgive me. I usually run what they call, in my model, they call it year one, but I run a break even to see, does it make sense that we think that they can sell that much in a year in order to just keep the lights on, right? Pay the bills and keep it open. What they would need to do, what they would need to sell is 17 units of furniture, 1,289 board feet of dried lumber, and 28 small units a year just to break even. That's not including their own salaries. Okay, so that's just to keep the lights on. That, as you can tell, that's break even because my net income percent is 0.4%. All right, not a lot of products, right? So a little over a piece of furniture a month, about 100 board feet of dried lumber a month, and about 4 smalls, 1 a week, in order to break even. So anything over that, and they're in the money, right? They're paying themselves. All right, so let's look at what is most likely, what they believed that they would do, okay? They believed that they would do approximately 94 pieces of furniture, 3,000 board feet of lumber, and 238 smalls a year. If they can do that, their net income is over $100,000. So they're in the 6 figures, which you can see that from the potential, right, price point. We're talking about some larger price points, all right? But they're combining some small things that are very shoppable with the larger price points to get people in the door, and I think it works for a downtown location. Also, other most likely, on the high end, they believed, okay, we think we can push ourselves and get to 187 units of furniture a year, double the amount of board feet, and double the amount of small items. If they can do that, of course, they double their bottom line. But the middle one, the break even, is super important. I think that's a really low number. Those are low numbers in order to break even. That's a good sign, right? Breaking even with low numbers is a good sign. And the ability that the sky's the limit almost on their own profitability. All right, so any questions about that?
Are there pieces ready to go, like, that you've already done, or?
A few. We have about 3 tables ready. She has quite a bit of pottery already ready. It just needs to be put in the film fire. Pottery, but we finally started building furniture again here in the past 2 weeks or so. We just have been focusing on, completely rehabbing the building.
Sure.
Getting that where we want to be before we start building stuff, but we're there.
Okay.
How long does it take you to produce a table, like a dining room table?
The one today, I actually purchased the legs. Sometimes I just outsource like turntable legs because it would take me too long to recreate 4 identical legs. I could probably make one of those. If I have the lumber already planed, I could probably make one in a day. Maybe 1.5, get the next one probably. Not super long, because I did this before, still working, and I would, do it on the side. But now that I'm in that building all day long, we can really bust out. She's planning like 16 cutting boards today, so she's in there making furniture too.
So really exciting, right? Look, I don't know any, in my 6 counties, I don't know any other community that has a business quite like this. I know communities that have furniture business, but nothing like this.
It is different.
It is different.
There's one in, I talked to some people, there's a an Amish wood furniture place in Harrison, Ohio. A lot of them go over there to, look at products, and I think some of them have actually purchased products over there. But it would be nice, even on their part, they say, if they could come to their own city and be able to purchase something, that had that, what you're talking about, the unique quality or the shopping experience.
Yeah. That's I think, the cool part is the visual of it, right? If you can imagine that, the shopability of, walking down the street and being able to look in the window, go in and see high-end furniture being made. I mean, you can see that epoxy river one with the blue down the middle. I just wanted to go in and touch that one. And it kind of sucks people in. And so unique, just really unique. Batesville has a woodworking shop, but they're not doing anything like this. Of course, Osgood has Iron Timbers, but they don't have a retail location necessarily. And I just think for Lawrenceburg, it goes with what's around and what's going on around the area too, right? So another nice thing, pulls people down Walnut Street. At least we can get them down halfway down Walnut Street, so they're not just always up on High Street. So we can engage the business and economy aspect down the entertainment district a little more. And also, people over there in those high-end apartments are gonna need furniture.
I was thinking that. Well, I usually ask, we've only done this, I think, twice now, because we did it for Funny Farm, but I asked Funny Farm, we've done it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yep. But I'd like you to come to that podium and tell us why we, as a redevelopment commission, should invest in you. Tell us about you. I approach things a little bit different. I think we know that, but I like the psychological component of it, because really, essentially, we're giving $25,000 to you, and your business, your idea. What makes you special?
I think what makes us special is the fact that we kind of put everything on the line, and dwindling down to $15 in a bank account situation. But the fact that we kind of put it all out on the line means that we're, not just here for a short run, and then, we're very committed, and this is going to be our career. So this isn't just, a 1 or 2 year thing, and then we sell the building, and then someone has to restart. This will be until we hopefully retire one day.
Yeah, we're both from Aurora. We went to South Dearborn. I left and went to Bloomington for college. I went to IU there, but I came back, and we intend to stay here. Like you were talking about, what can we do in 10 years? Hopefully we're still here in 10 years. Hopefully we make a big impact, and we're still working with the community, and we hope to grow. And one of the things that we really want to do, hopefully in the next 10 years, is offer some classes with me teaching pottery and him doing some woodworking workshops with local people. Like that could be really interesting. Draw people in. I started in pottery because I took a class. I had to go all the way to Norwood to do that once a week, drive an hour there, an hour back. So I feel like that could be a really unique opportunity, because there's nowhere else. I looked everywhere to find a pottery class, and there is not one anywhere near us here.
If you could start something like that, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's definitely one of our goals for sure.
When do you plan to open?
We love this question.
So initially, when we bought the building, it was somewhat move-in ready, somewhat, but we figured that, it's a blank canvas. We might as well completely make it how we want it, and that continued to push things off. But we are finally finished with the front room, and we're finished with the back room. It's good enough for a wood shop, and we're building furniture finally. So we hope to be open around.
Definitely by Thanksgiving, get the Christmas shoppers is our really, well, we hope before then, but definitely by then at the latest.
The grand, maybe, I don't know if that's too ambitious, but the small business Saturday, like that week, actually works. I don't know. But we hopefully will open about a week or two before that as well, kind of like just soft
soft
opening, since neither of us have ran a business before, but we're,
We can manage. I ran a classroom of fifth graders. If I can handle 100 fifth graders, I think I can do this.
What type of hours do you want to keep?
So we've been playing around with a couple of things since several businesses are closed on Mondays. We'll probably also be closed on Mondays just so we can have a day where no one's coming in and we can be working on inventory to keep up the showroom. 9 to 5, and then we have planned to do a late day on Thursday just because that's when a lot of the stuff in the summer happens in downtown Lawrenceburg is a later day, and then have hours on Saturday as well.
might change, because we usually get there earlier than 9, obviously, but it might be nice to have a little bit of time to get things ready, but we'll definitely be open 9 to 5, but we might, expand depending on how people are messaging us, wanting to come in on Sunday or something. We might be open a few hours on Sunday as well.
I also have this, if anybody wants to look at this. It's our brand guideline. We work with, one of my friends went to college for graphic design, and she helped us out a lot on this. It just goes over our vision, our mission, a little bit about, it goes over like our colors, our,
The vibe,
The
I
vibe.
think, is what.
yeah.
It has that earthy vibe.
Yes.
I like it.
Just make a couple of quick comments on the hours note. Obviously, being, as Jenny mentioned, a co-tenant, somebody who is open downtown to help maneuver the traffic for all the merchants, it's important to us that you pay attention to those hours and work with the neighboring businesses and try to cover the same hours as much as possible to take advantage of. And I think all of our businesses start and then they adapt as they learn what the market's doing. But it'd be really important, for somebody to be able to, it makes a big difference when people know that there's a couple things that they can do.
Yeah.
Right.
A huge difference to everybody. So I would encourage you, and I know you will, just to keep that in the back of your mind and to remind the board that these dollars go directly toward to the build-out, the construction of the property. They're not for equipment or raw materials or anything like that. So this is an investment in the property itself that will remain with the property.
I also have an outline of what we would plan to spend the money on if you
Yeah.
want that. It's very short because there's only 2 items on it, but.
And we do require verification and receipts upon all this expenditure, so.
I also have a
Kelly
picture of
Brook
what
Bank
we
will
plan
have.
to the outside look like.
Oh, great. Oh, wow.
We're not good at,
Computer-generated.
yeah, we're not good at computer stuff yet.
Well, no, but I can get the idea of it. I
Exactly.
mean, it's,
Yeah.
yeah. It has that old, like,
So will you stay with the earthy rustic tone?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we'll stick with our brand guideline. Was very important to my friend that created it.
Brian, can you remind us when the $25,000 check would be cut? If the grant is approved?
At occupancy.
So is that day one of open for business, or
We
prior to
have,
that?
we have said occupancy.
So that's on occupancy permit, right?
Yeah, certificate of occupants from building department.
But we're probably there, right?
I don't,
Bill Shelton?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be with,
Yeah.
I just met with John Johnson earlier this week for the other permits, but the occupancy permit we have not got yet. But
Okay.
it's in the works. I was just speaking with Jenny about where to go about getting that.
thank you.
We tie it to that, Mr. Schaefer, just because it's easy. If we get a certificate of occupancy, that means we don't have to get 50 other things. That means we know that they've gotten all of those things, that they're good. They have insurance, the building has fire
Yeah.
protection and utilities and.
now knowing how Kevin's mind works, what he's thinking is he'd like to see that outside done if that's where our dollars are gonna be dedicated to.
You all seen this?
We've said if occupancy permit.
I'm a neighbor, by the way, so I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing that place as I drive down Walnut.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
looking forward to
Hey.
seeing the outside done because we've done so much work on the inside, but not many people will notice. So all of the old metal and exposing all those old windows. I think there's actually 19 windows in that building that they covered up 40 years ago.
Upstairs?
Yeah.
Upstairs and then down
And then
back.
the back too, so.
Okay.
For right now, we just want to remove all the old metal, expose those windows, and put up new metal. And then, that way it just doesn't board it up. And then eventually later on down the road, we'll work on the back windows along the back side.
Yep.
Or they're like the 6 on the concrete part.
Okay.
And then the other part is for the, a really important part of a wood shop and a showroom is having steady humidity. And the front half of the building, the HVAC is non-functioning, needs completely replaced. The back half, we kind of have it limping along right now. But I did HVAC for a living for a few years before I went into nursing, and we were just gonna purchase the mini splits and then put them up, which they're a lot more efficient, and it's kind of like a newer thing that people are going with instead of all this ductwork and stuff.
The other metric that we typically use is just to require businesses to invest themselves first, and these guys clearly have, our $25,000 is less than 10% of the investment that they've already made in the property, so this is probably farther along than some of the businesses we've invested in the past. They've already put so much into it. And the other thing that you guys probably already know, but I think is important, maybe for the community or whoever's listening, is that Jeannie Fowler and her organization is a state organization. It requires training and commitment and a lot of hard work. And so when Jenny takes the podium, or when Mr. Messmore takes the podium, they're speaking for the Indiana Small Business Development Council, they're speaking for Main Street, they're speaking for the Downtown Development Board, which is another board. There's a lot of other boards and organizations that look at these businesses and decide, well, is this a good fit for us? Is this a good fit for this specific location? So this is like the end, or not the end, but this is the culmination of a ton of work that has already happened by the time it gets presented to redevelopment. So people watching on YouTube or whatever, they might think, well, these guys just walked in off the street and pitched us an idea. So we make it clear that tons of legwork has gone into vetting this, developing and redeveloping it, before it even gets before you guys as a redevelopment commission.
Jordan, how long ago was it we took the first walk around town and started kicking the tires?
February, January,
No, because we visited that building in January, and we looked at where the new antique store is at, we had looked there. I think you guys had looked at a couple other buildings too, before we even settled on, because it was up for rent, and we asked.
It seems like forever ago, but yeah.
Long time.
It's important. I think the relationships are important in things like this, and I think this solution was unexpected. I think the way it came about, and the permanency of the solution that resulted in introducing people to people and talking about what's good for down and people who already have vested interest in downtown. I just think that that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Are there any additional questions from the board?
The Sherpa was good.
If there are not, I would accept a motion, if it so be the board's desire, to grant Mr. Bussey, J. Bussey Woodworking, the preferred business $25,000 grant.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations.
We're looking forward to you opening up. So we're looking real forward to you opening up.
He needs a big dining room table.
Yeah, I need a big.
Jenny, thank
Thank you
you
very
for
much.
everything that you do to be able to
Yeah.
get, like Dell was saying, and I think Brian alluded to it as well, this is the packet of information that we get from Jenny and from the Bussies or whoever she's working with, and this gives us snapshot of what we need to see to be able to make an informed decision. And of course, we know that the director takes his time to vet these people out as well to make sure that it's an appropriate development for the city of Lawrenceburg and for the Redevelopment Commission to consider. But to be able to have somebody like you to work with these small businesses so that they can create something like this is absolutely outstanding. And it's something that I wish every small city in the United States had. I don't know how many do, but we certainly appreciate what you do here, and it does not go unnoticed. And I would say the same
thank
to
you.
Michelle Cohn and the Main Street Association that we have in the city of Lawrenceburg. It is
Yes.
absolutely outstanding. I think we've come a long way. I think, every year you see a little bit of change and you see that needle move in the positive direction. And that's a good thing for this city.
Well, so I want you to know that I get kind of excited about these things that are going on, and poor Brian and Michelle, I'll call them and say, hey, you know what? I've got 5 businesses and I don't have anywhere to put them, and we need to get to work on this. And then Brian says, Ginny, we placed 12 businesses in the last year. Let's take a moment to say we're doing well. I think that Kathleen, yeah, she had said about the Sherpa team, no other community is doing any of this size, especially, is doing anything close to what we're doing from a guidance and help perspective. So, not that I'm tooting my own horn at all, but because this is my job. But that said, there aren't other communities who are doing these things, and I know that because I talk to them in 6 counties in southeast Indiana, and I hold this up as the benchmark for these are the kinds of things that we need to be doing in order to help people. It is not easy to take the risk of business ownership. Super, super hard. And it does not mean that you will be a success at all. And so having the vetting, I'm glad Del said that, because it goes through more than just, one person to come up here, not just random people off the street walking in here in front of you, which would be disrespectful, frankly, in front of the citizens of Lawrenceburg. So, but I think that putting a lot of time and effort into it, the ones that get here are the ones that we really believe will be successful and good for Lawrenceburg. So, by the way, kudos to all of you for what you've done in structuring it, and I'm excited to see what happens next year.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's no additional new business, I don't see anything on the agenda, we would move on to old business. Throw that over to Director Messmore for our Main Street report.
Yeah,
Michelle Cohn is here as well. Go ahead.
We'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, as always, the Main Street report's in your packets for review. If you have any questions, feel free to holler. You don't have to wait till now to do that, obviously. We are winding down the year in terms of applicants and taking a look at applications and trying to refine, and we'll have some more discussions about what changes we would recommend for 2022. Wow. That's kind of the gear we're in right now. What didn't go well and what did. So, and then I would just remind Mr. Chairman that we were going to discuss the 236 East High demo bid.
Yes.
Yeah, I can do that last. We can let Michelle do.
We're on there. Oh, unless anybody has Michelle.
Michelle, did you have any comments you wanted to make?
I did have comments. My comment was, I'm Michelle from Lawrenceburg Main Street. As always, thank you so much for entrusting us to steward these funds and allow us to be forward-facing to the community on this incredibly successful grant program. And I think the buzzword around Main Street is entrepreneurial incubator, and I think that as a group and as a Sherpa team, that's what we're trying to do. And we did it before it had a buzzword, and now it has a buzzword. So we are an entrepreneurial incubator, and I think that we are best suited to determine which businesses are going to be successful in downtown. I think we've got 4 new businesses downtown this year, and we did 3, at least through Main Street last year. Ginny does more than we do.
I can name them all if you want.
Yeah, we're super excited about it.
Yes.
And
And there are three, again, that are coming now that we're working on that are very close.
And the grant program is a great way to incent behavior and incent investment. So if I was fortunate to be on the comprehensive plan for the city of Lawrenceburg, and I know that one of the goals was to increase the amount of private ownership of residential real estate. And I think that through our programs that we develop in 2022, if we're looking to increase private ownership, that's definitely something we can do. So super excited, and again, thank you for allowing Main Street to steward the funds.
Thank you, Michelle.
Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Weldon, the next piece of business?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Please, the Redevelopment Commission on, in August, at our August meeting, we opened bids for the demolition work at 236 East High Street. We took an initial look at those bids, and then we passed them on to engineering and Mr. Messmore to take a further look to make sure that they are responsive and responsible. The results of when we start from the lowest bidder, the lowest bidder, upon recommendation of engineering and Mr. Messmore and of legal, was disqualified. The second lowest bidder was also disqualified, and we ended up with the third lowest bidder. So I wanted to put that in the minutes. I don't think it was clear. I don't think it was a correction of the minutes. I just want to entertain a vote, if you'll allow me. And so we have the low bidder for this project being McCool Enterprises at $18,750. However, they did not break out the cost of demo and cost of trees separately as called for in the bid, so they would be statutorily non-responsive, and so we would move to disqualify them. And then the second lowest bidder was Probst Excavation, and they did not put a schedule into their bid package, which was required, so that bid was also non-responsive. And then we get to the third lowest bidder, which is Howard Excavation. They did not have any defects in their bid. Their bid amount is $14,800 for the demo, $8,700 for the trees, for a total of $23,500. So I'd take just one motion, if it pleases the commission, to disqualify McCool Enterprises and Probst Excavation as being non-responsive to the bid request, and awarding the bid to Howard Excavation as being the lowest responsive and responsible bidder.
Do we have a motion in that regard?
Dale, are we moving forward with the tree removal?
Well, I'd like to just accept the bid first, and then we can get into the nuts and bolts. I don't actually know. Mr. Seymour's here from where does he work? Conservancy District. So I don't know if we did the trees or not. Paul, we were talking about with these residential properties, whether we're gonna do the trees that are close to the levee. So I would just ask for a vote to award the bid first, and then we can control what actually happens with the execution after that.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And then
But the buses may
Brian.
want those trees,
There you go.
big trees.
Brian and Paul can probably answer what we're actually gonna do with the trees.
Well, I don't know that we've come to a complete conclusion. We have, and Paul, you can come up to the podium if you'd like to talk about, that somewhere in the middle may be an answer to preserve a tree or two and take care of the one that's the most threatening to the integrity of the toe portion of the levee. And
Yeah.
we also discussed that, we would, do this as a joint project, and had those discussion and just run it through the day-to-day and exclude that portion of the bid package.
The way it works with the LCD is Corps of Engineers in 1940 put basically a big blanket, really good easement over the whole levee system. And in that system, we have the LCD has a duty to maintain that levee to their standards. And as you guys know, recently, for quite a few years now, the pressure's on to do a lot of work to the levee. That particular area there is one of the only ones left in town that it is groundhog infested. We went over there and Bentonited them, but I think the proper thing to do on that bank back there, which you guys own, but we have the easement. And I know there's, you know, we have a duty to maintain that. Now, there are some trees that do not interfere and aren't in that easement, but there are a lot of things in that easement over the years that probably shouldn't be there. We're not looking to cause anybody any grief or anything. We just want to go in there to where we can put our abbey on that slope. We can clean it, maintain it. Most of the trees that are in there are probably 30-year-old weeds. They're not really real good trees. However, the ones I'm interested in taking out, you know, aren't the real big ones. I think the people in town are more concerned with the big ones, and I can actually, we've got pictures back from 1940 that I can show you that those big trees were there. So if you guys would be interested in a joint project, it's something that we're going to do. We need to do to do our job for the Corps of Engineers. So that's something that I'm working on right now, putting something together and trying to see what it's going to take us to do it. I want to do it in January, February, when all the leaves are down and everything's died off. So that's.
So bottom line is, we don't know for sure exactly, but we are working towards a solution.
We're talking about those two trees on that particular
We're
lot,
talking
right?
about everything back there in general.
Yeah, I
These
don't
just
know
came
what
up
I'm
because these are.
I know those two trees are the big issue. That's what I was wanting to ask you.
Trees that are really in your bid proposal are really not part of that embankment. But, you know, that's, if you guys want them off of there, that's fine. That one's really big tree.
Yeah.
So we can talk. I've talked to Mario a little bit about it. We're working on it.
No, thank you. That's Paul Seymour, Superintendent, Lawrenceburg Conservancy District, and that's why, obviously it was important in these bids for them to break out a schedule, pricing, and break the tree removal out from the full demo, so that's why that was important to do that as well.
You don't need any action from the
No.
board this evening?
No,
Informational, really?
I'll let you guys know what we decide before we do anything.
All right. If everybody's had time to review the claims, I would take a motion to approve the claims at this meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And we have comments from the audience. Mr. Seymour, back again.
I came in tonight, been a long time.
Thank you.
Fan of the housing program. It started in 2009 and built over 35 homes. Just completed 2, and they'll probably be the last 2 that I do. Really busy over Conservancy, and the one thing I'm encouraged by what I heard tonight. The thing I want to reinforce to y'all is, you know, they've always had a choice to turn down people on their homes. I mean, if you guys don't like what somebody's putting in, I'll be the first to tell you, please speak up. Because I feel like the homes kind of went down a little bit. You know, I like the brick homes, I like the porches, I like different things. So don't be afraid to sit back and ask. Get what you want, because once that lot, you okay it, you know, make them put in there what you want. The one thing that I want to ask tonight is if there's any questions on the homes that I just got done, I've got, the one Brian's taken care of with Mr. Beatty. It's a senior-friendly home. And then I had an uncle come down and we finished up one for him, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, senior-friendly home with a, what I'd call a visiting barn. He sold his farm, getting too old to take care of the farm. He's really enjoying it downtown. His wife walks. And I just came in to, if there's any concerns or any questions anybody has about finishing up on Larry's, I just wanted to give everybody a chance to ask me or.
The only question that came up was there's a garage in the house, and then there's an additional barn, and we were trying to just make sure that the intent of the grant covered outbuildings like a barn. And that's the discussion we're having.
Well, it should. It always, I mean, I'm doing it. I would like to be included in them discussions if
They're just internal at this point, but yeah.
what I'm asking for is if you guys got questions and you wanna have a meeting, please let me come in.
We would, Paul.
Because when I put that, bid package together and gave it to Main Street, that was included in on it.
Yep.
And the only other thing I'd like to say is that out of all the houses I built, those two were the most frustrating of all of them because of the events that's taken place the last 2 years. If there's anybody worried about me making too much money on them houses, I spent money. I spent it.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, that's not part of the discussion. The discussion is that a separate building versus a traditional house that can't have a garage, that has a garage in the back? I think that was the discussion that was being debated.
I'm hoping they'll see that they, they've been shooting for nice homes. The house had brick on it. It's 1,650 square feet. It's a really nice home. The garage in the back. I hope that everything goes well, and I'd like to
Get it wrapped up?
If at all, I'd like a meeting to talk about whatever they're talking. All right?
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What'd I miss?
He just had questions about the home program, and we talked a little bit about, what's the address over there on your?
329.
320. He asked if there were any questions. I said, well, we were discussing internally whether or not that garage was in addition to what would have been the intent, since that house could have a garage. I think historically they've been a house that can't have a garage because the lots are narrow. And I don't know everything that's ever been built in town, but that was where the question came up. Most houses can't have a garage up front, so they have one on alley access, and that's always been part of the plan. This is a house that has a garage and a barn. So that's just what we're talking about. So, we just making sure we're doing the right thing.
Well, I'm pretty sure the right thing is just having a meeting with me and let's get it taken care of. If anybody's got any questions, I'd like to participate.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you're not the applicant.
Huh?
You're not the applicant. You're not the person applying for the grant,
Well,
right? I
I'm
mean,
probably the reason why this is going so slow.
no. I don't think it's going slow. We just gotta take a look at it.
I've got an 82-year-old uncle that's just had back surgery. They came here, and this program is kind of a welcome to Lawrenceburg, and I turned it in, and how this was said to Mr. Beatty and to Larry Seymour was, here's the program. And that's what we did, and if there was any questions with that program, it seemed like it should have been brought up months and months ago. All I'm asking is I'm the one that did the deal, and if there's any questions, I'm sure I'm the one that brought him to Lawrenceburg. He's gonna be paying utilities, taxes, who knows how many years he's got left. I'm glad he's here. They're enjoying the town very well. I'd like you guys to also think of something that would be nice in the future. This started out as being a welcome to Lawrenceburg type program, and thanks for choosing to come here and buy a home. I can't remember the last time somebody knocked on the door and said, "Can I see your new home? How do you like it here?" I think that would be a good idea. Lenny, you like visiting people. Next time you see that door open in that garage over there, go ask him how he likes it. He'd be happy to see you. That's all I got to say.
You got a fridge out there in the garage?
He does, yes, he does.
Brian will be there then. Are there any additional comments from the audience? I guess everybody else has kind of spoke in the audience, haven't they?
Yeah.
All right. If not, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So
Always
moved.
like
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I like to be the one to close it. Oh, boy. Good to see you, buddy.